comic friends. I'm Travis.
And I'm the disembodied voice.
And this is
Comics Ramble.
something like that.
Or no particular order. We don't know.
Well, we're not going to call it that. Anyway, we're going to ramble about some comics. Not reviews. But whatever. Anyway, first off, we're going to talk in, like I said, in no particular order. Because I wouldn't know how to order these things anyway. And we're going to talk the plot. Issue number 4. Vault Comics. So it has that origami smell. Daniel and Morrissey? How do you say his name?
I would say Morrissey, but honestly, again,
I
have not ever looked them up. Yeah, you should have.
I've talked to him. Hickson on art. Boyd on colors. I think Campbell is the letterer. That's an awesome cover.
Yes.
Covers are by somebody else, but there you go. Get the light bulb in there and stuff like that. So, and it's called The Plot, not as in the plot of the story. It's plot as in a plot of land. It is a particular house and surrounding area around this house that's clearly had some difficult pasts. We're finding that it's had a creepy past, a past of horror and whatnot.
Look, it's a horror comic.
Well, so yeah, we'll talk about that. So there's a guy who basically ran away from his house, ran away from his family. He has inherited his brother's kids. He has brought them back to the family home to try and create some sort of a family life for these kids as best they can, because the mom and dad were killed. Right. So takes them back to the homestead, and there's all these problems have resurfaced again.
And he has quite a reputation because that family has a reputation, and the sheriff, a whole lot of people, especially the sheriff, are not really happy to see him again because they feel like the best thing that could happen is if that whole house just sank into the ground and nobody saw any of them ever again.
So yeah, so there seems to be potentially two things going on inside the house and whatnot. There's some sort of, I don't know, ghosts or whatever that floods the place. They found a body in the basement in the last issue. He keeps the I remember his name, the guy who's trying to be dad. He keeps getting flooded out places, but there's never any evidence of water after the fact. And then we have this bog and some sort of bog monster or something that pulls you down and drowns you. We find out in this issue that way in the past, like the girlfriend or the potential girlfriend,
Reese.
Yeah, she got pulled in to this thing. So we get some backstory as far as that goes. I really like this comic.
And she refers to it as her first kiss.
Yes. Well, because it was going to be, kind of, right? I mean, it was kind of...
Sure, but then the bog monster is kissing her.
Her and the other person was supposed to be creeping off into the woods to, maybe have a little bit of fun, and then she gets pulled under. Yeah, so you get some great dark ambience shots of her going out following some person she thought was her date, and then she gets pulled under and gets the drowning and gets a kiss, but she doesn't get drowned though.
No,
I mean, she survives somehow.
Right.
But she's also seems to be under the influence by the end of the thing, right?
Yes.
Which is interesting. Also, the only person of the family that's left alive is mom and the mother of the house, the owner of the house, and she's been in psychiatric care for a very long time, it seems like. She's basically been this side of comatose.
Right. She's
non-communicative.
Sitting there quietly until just recently.
And so now she's saying don't go in the attic a whole bunch. And of course, what do they do by the end of the comic? They go in the freaking attic.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she's drawing picture after picture after picture of the attic when she's saying not to go there.
Right.
So that's new.
Yes. In order to receive, you first must give the cold ashen hands of what once was reached into the cold ashen hands of what once was reaches into the now and gives a little push. So I really like this comic. It has all the right kind of horror or elements.
And it's set in the 70s.
No.
Why does that say 1974?
It's 1974. It's the plot 1974 at first kiss because in 1974 is when she was going to have first kiss.
Okay, that part is set in the 70s.
So it's like in the 80s.
Okay.
It's set in the 80s, I believe. Which is becoming a pretty common occurrence
Yes.
for us. And I think that it has to do with the fact that I think all of these writers of a lot of these books we're reading right now are all around the same age. And so I think there's just something about...
That makes sense.
There's a zeitgeist of ideas and thoughts because the same stuff was going on, at least in the United States, to some degree, all around. I think so. That's why we're getting some elements in multiple places that seem somewhat the same as far as that kind of thing goes.
That makes sense.
Right. Well, no, I wasn't sure I was going to think of this comic. I picked it up because the creators that were on it, and it was another Vault book, and I've been liking a lot of the Vault books, but I'm really digging it. It's a book that I always look forward to seeing what next is gonna happen. And I really, like I said, I really like the art in this issue. It was very, very striking, very dark and visual.
Yes. I have to say, I feel for this uncle. He really is doing his very, very best to try and keep these two kids safe, to make their lives better. And
Chase, right?
Yeah, Chase. And it's kind of not his fault in a way that this stuff is happening.
No, not at all.
So
Not at all.
it's just the house. And I appreciate the fact that when the knocking comes out of the attic, he says something to the effect of, if the house says something to tell me, it just better spit it out already, and just goes up there.
Right.
Because he's getting tired as well.
Right.
I also like the book a lot.
Right, because he's struggling to just try and make the best for these kids. I mean, he
Right.
genuinely...
He really does care about them.
And he's somebody who, has...
I don't think he's a bad person.
Right,
and
he's
I'm
somebody
annoyed
who
with the way
obviously,
that the town treats
as
him.
a kid, got mixed up in everything beyond the supernatural stuff that's happening around his house, has just gotten mixed up in all the stuff that bad boys get mixed up in, right? Kind of a deal.
Yeah, I get that impression, yeah.
So he's just trying to do clean slate now, kind of a deal. So anything else about plot?
No.
So we'll talk Catwoman, issue number... Ooh, get the glare off there. Catwoman issue number 19. There we go. Pawn of the Dead. I have some real issues with this comic. This kind of felt like another issue where it's, to some degree, except for the very end of it, it's a lot of let's stretch things out. It felt to me like. But my biggest complaint is, I'm getting to the title page here. Is the title page. Why she's wearing this Catwoman suit, I don't know. Story by Jolie Jones, sweet. Then pages 1, 4 through 7, 10 and 11, 18 and 20 are by Borges. Pages 2 and 3, 8 and 9, 12 and 14 are by someone named Enki, and pages 15 through 17 are by Inka Miranda. And then colors are by about 3 different people, depending on which art is in it. So. And you can tell. I mean, you go along and the art, the art changes. So you get your page of art like this, and then you get this page. I mean, this page you can dramatically. Okay, so different settings. So that works to some degree, in some sense, because this is our friend of the pawn shop, fighting the undead zombie dudes, and this is Selena complained about the fact there aren't enough rooftops to jump across in this town, and
Right.
metaphorically talking about the fact the lack of rooftops, and maybe that's
A lack of options in our life. It's just time.
right, which is fine. I like the writing part of it.
Sure.
I just visually it annoyed me that it changes, and it changes. This does not look like this, and there's no reason for it to, other than this is, some of it's by really good artists in my opinion, and some of it's by whatever, kind of a deal. I don't know. I found it very disruptive. What did you think?
I just am not that crazy about zombie stories, so I didn't particularly enjoy the
Right.
zombie part of it,
Mm-hmm.
but I like the characters, and I think that she's wearing that costume because she came out of the Lazarus pit in a purple dress,
Right.
kind of old school Catwoman, and so I think that is why she is carrying through with the purple.
So it's kind of a mix of
Right, you know,
the old and the new.
new Catwoman,
Mm-hmm.
old dress, new costume. I
Mm-hmm.
guess I don't know, but it doesn't bother. Well, I don't like it as much as I like her
Oh, I don't have a problem with the costume.
21st century costume,
Sure.
but I mean, it's fine. I'm just not that crazy about her in purple versus black.
I like purple.
I know it's your favorite color. I didn't say I didn't like purple.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, it's. I agree with you on the filler and the art.
Yeah,
Um,
it still feels like we're. I mean, so, we got our Cruella DeVille. I don't know what her name is.
Oh, that lady.
The lady who's looks like she's rotting. She's had massive
Because
work
she's
done
had.
and what.
Yeah, well, she had cancer.
Right. So they discovered a Lazarus pit and they're using the Lazarus water. She's using the Lazarus water to try and leverage the town, and that's how she's
Right.
basically got these kind of
She's
quasi.
making these pseudo zombies because
Right.
you come out, you don't have your soul restored, and so you're just
Right. So she's decided this is a way for her to gain political power or power over the city as opposed to having to be a politician's wife and be a beauty queen and whatnot. Now it doesn't matter that she looks
exactly
like a monster.
She looks like who she is now for sure, because she is a monster. She's been a monster since day one when she looked like a pretty, typical
blonde politician wife. Yeah.
blonde politician wife. Exactly.
Trophy wife. I still like the comic as a whole.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
just want us to get back actually on track. I don't know. I've heard rumblings that maybe that Julie Jones is on to other things, but then I also know that she's going to go back to doing the art on the book. Clearly, this is all happening prior to the end of Tom King's Batman run on the book, so I don't know where that all lands at some point. So obviously, at some point, she goes back to the other costume because in all
Right.
of that, she's back in the black
Right.
outfit. Yay! Dying is Easy, issue number 2, or rather, a shit talk Holmes mystery. Of course, the shit talk is shot out. Joe Hill book, not part of the Hill House comics, not a horror book. Martin Simmons doing art on it.
Go on
Okay.
ahead. You love this book.
I do. It's hilarious. This issue was super fun. So he's basically been told that he has been marked as having murdered this other comedian who stole a bunch of people's bits and whatnot. We find out that sometime after our title character here walked away from punching him up a little bit, he drowned in a puddle of water, in 3 inches of water. He drowned. It's kind of on the local news, at least. That this guy was an up-and-coming comedian, was going to be on Friends, blah, blah, another book that's set in...
Yep, set in 1995?
Right, something like that. And, of course, the police are out to get him because a lot of them just don't like him because of his time when he was on the force before. Most of the policemen think that they'll get some sort of bonus or promotion because he turned the chief's daughter gay. Because that's what happens, right?
Absolutely.
If suddenly you're married to somebody and then they suddenly come out.
Right. Yes. But he used to be a detective as well. And so he is basically solving this murder while he's on the run from the police, wearing some fetching footwear.
Well, he runs in the police and doesn't have any shoes. He goes to a pawn shop to try and get the information about the guys who did roll the person. He ends up running from there to chase after him, and the only shoes that were available are a pair of white roller skates. So he roller skates after him.
Pink hearts.
Yes.
You should show them.
It's hilarious. This is like a quasi-modern Columbo in a lot of ways. He's solving this crime, but lots of ridiculousness happens along the way. I still think it also continues to... there's a shot of the roller skates with the pink stars on it.
It is funny. I agree with you.
It continues the comedy. It has some good one-liners in it. I think it still has those.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Okay. I like the cover, and then on the inside, it's a nice throwback to Chaplin,
Right.
hanging from the clock. But that doesn't work out for him quite as well because he falls off of it. So a little bit more realistic. Maybe they just don't make clocks like they used to.
Well, he breaks one of the hands off actually, and then uses it to pry the window open of the next
that's
door.
true.
The girl next door, or the guy next door, whatever the case may be, and clearly he knows her.
You should read the line.
So he breaks in.
What she says and then what he says.
And she says as he breaks in, she says, "Okay, it's Dr. Herzog. We're friends. Hey Sid, it's substantially easier to use the front door and safer too." And he says, "Hi Mel. Hi Mel's daddy issues. Mind if I borrow a couple bucks? I forgot to grab my wallet on my way out the door."
Yeah. So, just that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
His sense of humor is kind of Constantine-esque in a way, in that he's got that kind of ability to read people.
Right. Well, and it's dry.
And and sarcastic. So sarcastic. And also you get kind of the feel for what it was like to be a not at all up and coming comedian, just working the local comedy club, and what that's like. And he talks to his friend, another comedian whose day job is, he teaches like high school. So
right.
And he says that it's basically the same thing. He's standing in front of a bunch of nose-picking idiots who would rather be anywhere else.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yep. From IDW. Good stuff.
Not all of our comics go between the two. Romp, horror.
Right.
It feels like it right now.
Gideon Falls, issue number 20. Yeah, it's the book is intense. It's
good though.
It's growing back on me again. I kind of was irritated with it being this kind of really creepy horror, this, oh my gosh, this black bar and what's going on, the smiling man and whatnot. And then it's got all kinds of crazy sci-fi and the whole multi-dimension hopping sort of thing. But now it feels out of control again, and so then it leaps more into the element of scary as opposed to smart stuff going on that they're just not explaining to me.
Yes.
Kind of a thing. So, and this, like I said, it's really gone back to having all kinds of scary elements to it. That the father and the psychiatrist walking through the forest, not knowing exactly what they've been thrown to, and they've been thrown there by a bishop. They're supposed to have faith. They're supposed to know this stuff. They don't really know, and things are bad in this place. They could have a good drink of water. That's a great page.
Yes.
That negative plane as she gets pulled in by whatever's inside. That's sinister inside there and whatnot. So that's all really good stuff. The art in it is, well, of course, it's Sorrentino, so it's got some really brilliant stuff in it.
And it skips around in time.
Yeah. The giant cockroach
a
thing.
Lot. Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not like that.
And we get into the modern times. You get the plowmen trying to figure out what they're doing, kind of a thing. And they're funny in just the sense that they're clearly a group of people who have enough information to think that they should have a secret society that deals with the
Black Barn.
With the Black Barn and all that stuff, but they don't really have an actual plan. And now suddenly they're faced with the reality of it being real and it really being there. So now they're trying to figure out how to execute said thing.
And that was like this appearance of the Black Barn and the disappearance of this man who is now in middle age.
Norton.
Danny. Depends on what side of the coin you're on.
Snatched as a little kid. Yeah.
Anyway, that was 30 years ago. And now they're old and fat and tired and they don't know what to do.
Right.
They've just been kind of sitting around eating, trying to figure stuff out.
Right.
And now they have to do something.
It's been as much of anything. It'd be like a coffee hour, like every day or once a week or whatever. They get together and talk about the evil, but in reality, they're not really doing anything. And now it's in their face kind of thing.
And I took a second because English major, and I don't like to be wrong, to look up the word esoteric to make sure that's the word I wanted to use for how it feels sometimes. And since esoteric meant to be understood by only a small number of people with special knowledge, that is how it feels. And I think it's supposed to feel that way because you're being thrown into this with these people who are going, what's going on? And there are other people, future versions of themselves or people in other parts that have more of the pieces of the puzzle who are trying to say, look, we're just doing what you said to do when you came. And they're just like, what? Because they're all messed up and mixed up in time. So I think that's why it feels that way. But
Time and dimension, because it's not just time. Danny did not go from being kidnapped in one Gideon Falls and taken into the future. He was taken from one Gideon Falls, which was kind of like a small farming community, to a modern New York or Chicago equivalent sort of a place.
And so the priest comes to the farming community and also gets moved at one point to the.
He was in the modern place, but now has been thrown into the future. A future dimension where these people, there's an army of people who almost worship them and whatnot, and the whole multi-dimension, multiple U's, which we weren't sure existed. We weren't sure there were multiple U's, because up to this point there haven't been multiple U's.
Right. We just thought that we were looking at people in different points in time, not necessarily.
And at the end of this, that gets thrown in our face.
Right. And it's not in the fun kind of quaint Paper Girls way either. It's, it's a good comic though.
Yeah, it's cool.
Definitely worth a read. I would say it's definitely worth reading in trade if you're a trade waiter, because then you'll have all of it together in one spot. You don't have to think about what came before.
Sure.
All right, that's all I have. Yep. It's a good comic, and the covers have been awesome.
No, it's interesting now because they changed the covers, right? Because the covers for almost the entire series have been these kind of secret shape of the people's faces and whatnot, and I think we've ran out of characters to put faces on stuff.
I'm thinking.
We're putting
the puzzle pieces together.
Are we? Or are we taking them apart?
Oh, please, let's put them together.
Let's show the flesh underneath. Anyway, some point that's going to be a TV show somewhere. Was supposedly picked up.
Good luck.
Well, they need to really stay true to it, otherwise it's going to be cheap.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Next up, we have the Immortal Hulk, issue number 29.
I'm going to let you talk about this one, not because I didn't read it and not because I don't like it, but because all of the different degrees of Hulk and all of the Hulks, I have never really been exposed to that.
Like I have?
Well, I don't know. You've read more comics than I have.
I think I have 4 Hulk comics.
Okay.
Before Hulk. Anyway.
Well, you knew who Joe Fixit was.
So, you have a smartphone. She does spit take.
Disembodied hand almost came over and like.
Oh, so yeah. So anyway, I'm still really enjoying Immortal Hulk. The Bennett art is just really cool in the book. We're Hulk is evolving to some degree, or Dr. Simmons at least thinks that they're evolving to some degree. They're reconciling. The Banner's always in there somewhere, and he feels like historically Banner's going to reconcile, or Banner still is in control of the reins to some degree, that this Devil Hulk isn't really... Because up to a point, it's been Devil Hulk, and Banner's just been kind of drugged to wherever.
Right.
And now he's kind of implying that maybe that's not the case. Of course, we had this corporation that's kind of like the antiphony of evil corporations. That
and also
they're
Fox, because
they're Fox, they're Facebook,
Roxxon.
Right? They're like Fox, Facebook, and Halliburton all mixed into one, right?
That seems fair.
And so of course it's the main target, because Hulk has decided that he wants to make the world more green, and part of that whole concept is if we wreck a few humans along the way, that might make the planet a lot healthier place. So he's made a point of targeting that corporation. That corporation has to be run by a Minotaur who escaped from I don't know what I'm drawing a blank on what the land that Thor comes from, or the in-between place where the Dark Elves are at and whatnot. During one of those wars, he squeezed out of that, is my understanding. So he's evil. I don't where he's going to get assistance from, because every issue he crushes an assistant's head.
Oh, I know. He's gonna run out. Well, I think that the one in this issue, I think he's still alive.
Yeah, with how much brain damage.
Hopefully not too much.
Blood pouring out of his ears, and he's spitting blood out.
Broken cheekbones and stuff.
Yeah, just a skull fracture. It's no big deal.
No biggie. Brain hemorrhage, it's fine.
Right. And they've set a trap for the Hulk. They've timed it to where all of the other real powerful superheroes are off planet or indisposed. The X-Men are off playing on their island, and the Avengers are in space or something like that, largely. And they basically drop these 3 or 4 giant monsters. When I say giant monsters, like Godzilla-esque kind of things, onto the planet, and basically put them around places they're going to be targets that the Hulk will go to rescue. They attack the news station where our reporter friend is at. And so he's going to battle, and he's going to battle in the sunlight. He knows he's weakened, so he knows what's going to happen. Because during the sun, he's kind of, which harkens back to really old the Hulk, I guess, more along the lines of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde sort of a deal.
Right.
But no, it's cool stuff. I'm looking forward to smashing monsters and
Yes.
whatever comes from it.
And I will say that I like the fact that Betty always turns into her Hulk form whenever Bruce Banner walks into the room.
Yeah, here's Betty, very
And I was trying
unimpressed.
to decide whether or not she does it on purpose or it's spontaneous.
I think she does it on purpose.
I think so too.
I think she shifts into this monstrous harpy Hulk to disturb Banner because she's still got issues with Bruce.
I do love the way she opens her mouth to eat her sandwich. That is freaky creepy.
Yes, the unlocking jaw.
I also love the
snake.
look on what's his name's face.
Yeah, Samson. Yeah.
Yes. I have a hard time with these people's names because I really didn't grow up as a Marvel person. I mean, I didn't grow up as either, but I watched the Super Friends, not the X-Men.
3-headed flying
And
monster.
these are like people, right?
At one point,
Yeah.
but they've been uber
They've
juiced
been-
up
yeah.
and whatnot. So there's 4 of them. Yeah, there's your four monsters. One spewing lava over here, and one's kind of Chthonian. And then you've got your multi-armed lizard dude, and then you got the flying 3-headed monster kind of thing. So fun stuff. It's just a big smash and bash with a little bit of contemplation in there,
contemplation,
either personal contemplation
thought.
or a larger on the on society as a whole. Where are we at right now, kind of thing. Next up, we have Moonshine, issue number 15.
It feels like it's been going longer than that.
Yeah?
To me, yeah,
Well, there's a big break in there,
that's probably why.
but coming back from that, actually, there have been 2 big breaks, because this would be like the 3rd trade, and but then a decent job of jumping right back into whatever,
Yes.
coming back from that kind of a thing. Our main character has continued, has really sold his soul to the devil. I don't know if he's realized that, but now he is under the control of, I don't know, some witch doctor-y kind of a guy who originally had his eyes on his girlfriend.
Yeah, because his
He wanted
girlfriend
to marry her.
is... Oh,
That's the same guy that goes, because the sisters,
right, gotcha.
her mothers were talking about them off, this influential guy offering hand in marriage, and she
that
said
was
no.
him. I guess I missed that part.
Yeah, so I think this whole controlling this guy who can be a werewolf is a dual thing. It's
Gotcha.
this is a great tool. Plus, I'm also gonna get back at the lady who jilted me.
Who thwarted?
Right,
Gotcha.
right. And then you got the old school moonshiner family still back up in the hills, who some of them are moving on to we don't know what exactly.
Yes.
Kind of a thing. So I don't really have tons to say about it. I love the art. I'm a huge Eduardo Rizzo.
Yeah, I agree
Fan.
with you. The art is good. You always know who's who, which is kind of a plus. I like it. I want to root for him, but he is kind of a mess.
He makes a lot of shit choices,
Yeah, he really does.
and they're his choices. I mean, now granted, some of the stuff that's happened to him now, someone else is controlling him, but he still makes some base choices in his life that are just really bad.
Yep.
Now, we can excuse some of it potentially because obviously he had a horrible childhood. He feels like he helped around his sister. So he has all this baggage that made him an alcoholic and whatnot. But he has people around him that are supporting him to try and have him live a better life, and he continues to make shit choices.
True.
Right?
Yes.
Oh, Trees. Trees, Three Fates, issue number 5, the end of Trees, end of this, and from what I can tell from what the creators have said for probably a very long time, and it's a Warren Ellis project, probably we'll never see it again.
Exactly.
Trees is done. And from looking at it from a larger project, all the trees together, that is unfortunate. We basically get zero answers about anything that actually has to do with the trees. We just got some stories around the trees. We've had some issues in the past where these little black flowers have hints at being something, but we never truly get a full on of anything. And I felt like originally when this was first going, as we were getting these stories about life around the trees, we were going to slowly get all the pieces to put together.
No.
This is a cop drama.
Yeah,
with
an organized crime murder mystery.
Right, it's some cop drama with our main policewoman, haunted by a past relationship.
And I believe that's the only trees related part of it is.
But it could have easily, the tree could have not been there. He could have when they were young, and he walked out of the house saying, "You're stupid. I'm sick of you and all your whatever." Then he stepped into traffic and got killed by a car wreck. Could have put her in the same place that she is now. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, so, I know. But I'm saying that the black flower has something to do with his ability to be seen by her, and his ability to communicate with her.
Potentially.
Because when he sets it down after he disappears to move on to whatever, it's still there.
Right. Well, and then they get this final shot. The whole town's now suddenly covered in those flowers.
The flowers are basically claiming the whole town.
Right.
Nobody's living there anymore. Anyway, everybody's dead. So
largely so, yeah, for sure. So this was fine, but in a larger sense, that's a bummer.
Yeah, that's where I am too.
But it's sales, because I guarantee you, if that book was like the number one book being sold, those two creators would have no issues cranking out more of those books. I don't think it was a matter of I'm bored with doing this or I'm tired of us working together, because obviously they split off and did the cemetery. What was it called? Something cemetery. That 7 issues of them, the guy coming down from a different Earth to the kind of World War I era, but with some fancy stuff. God,
I'm so sorry, I don't remember.
But they broke off to do that fun romp, that basically action picture in comics. In between,
right?
So it's not like I said, they don't they dislike working with each other.
They like each other,
right?
Fine. It's just
so it's sales.
Audience.
It's sales. That's got to be what it is. Otherwise, that book would still be around. So it's all you people out there who aren't reading it. It's your fault that I don't get to finish getting my story. Joe Hill comic, Daphne Burn, issue number 1. Laura Marks, no idea. Writer, Kelly Jones, been around a long time. Old school, kind of an artist. He definitely has his own style. Does a lot of Swamp Things. A lot of Swamp Thing stuff is what he's been on recently for DC Comics, whatnot. Has done some Batman. He's got the infamous Batman with the ears that are like as long as your arms, kind of a thing.
Right, I know what that is.
Some awesome Deadman square-bound books that came out in the 80s that were very good, very cool looking with his style of artwork. Anyway, this is set in the turn of the century? Prior to the turn of the century?
That sounds
it's Edwardian, right. Victorian era?
Yeah, right around the time that mediums were becoming such a huge deal.
Right. I don't know. Girl's dad dies. She's haunted in some sense. I don't know that I was really sold on this issue as far as...
Yeah, I don't know that she's haunted. She's just sad, and her friends are horrible. Because they're not her friends. Her
classmates are horrible. Because she's potentially lower class and doesn't have money. What money her mom has, she's thrown away on mediums, because the mediums, of course, are letting her talk to her late husband.
Yeah, well, it's more that I think her dad died and didn't leave them anything. So, yeah, the money to the... I got the impression that when she was at the mediums in the beginning of the book, that was the first time that she was there, because she's so excited to take her daughter. And then her daughter is a lot more practical than she is about it.
She's a skeptic.
And then she discovers someone else that doesn't appear to be meaning her any good or of the normal human realm.
Right. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm not. I mean, the first issue didn't blow me away.
No, same. But we're gonna get another one anyway, so I'm definitely
Sure.
gonna give it that
I think
time.
I think it's like 4 issues. So I think it's a
Well, then we'll probably read the whole thing.
it's a short story.
I'm not
I
surprised
believe.
to hear that about the
Yeah.
Batman ears, considering how he draws her hair, the little girl's hair.
Right.
It's like
Right. But
way
anyway,
out there, pompadour.
it's I don't know. To me, it's kind of like it's in this case, it's I don't know, somewhat Richard Corbin. The only thing it's missing is the you know, over curvy women and whatnot. So it has that kind of if you're not familiar with Kelly Jones at all, but you're familiar with Richard Corbin to some degree, I think it looks
Yeah,
some
that makes a lot of sense.
makes some a look, but of
Yes.
course they don't
No.
aren't big bosomed and big hipped like Corbin draws all of his women and that sort of a thing. But just to get kind of a look at what some of the art looks like. Yeah.
Well, she's obviously extremely bereft. She really misses her dad.
Right. Well, and then things go bad. She gets stuck in kind of this crazy dream that she can't figure out how to get out of, unless she makes some sacrifices and that sort of thing. And it's all kinds of creepy. Yeah.
It's that end of it. The end of it was compelling to me. The dream and the waking up.
Sure.
So we're gonna find out, I guess.
Well, right. Next issue makes or breaks as far as whether I'm really engrossed in it. This is set
Right.
up to kind of give us this is what's happening.
I mean, if it's only 4 issues, then we're kind of committed anyway because of the way that
it's either
we get
4 or
comics.
6. Maybe it's 6. 4 seems short.
I'm generally
for a
able to
trade.
read 4 or 6 of just about anything. Generally.
Yeah. So, the Dollhouse Family, issue number 3, and this issue number 3 really turns around for me. I was kind of like, whatever. Oh, Dollhouse.
Yeah, it's kind of quaint horror.
Right.
Yeah, this one was definitely a whole lot creepier.
Yeah, Carrie Gross and Locke and Peter on the book, who have been a team that have done lots of stuff together in the past. This issue is really surprising because it takes our young girl from the first issues, brings her into her adulthood, middle age. She has a kid. We find out how she ends up with a child. We get this back history set in the turn of the century again. Kind of, slept with the devil or she-devil or something. Who knows exactly what it is. We can kind of get that's leading us into some of why the actual dollhouse itself is the way it is. And it is angry by the end of the issue. Whatever entity's in the house is angry with our main character because she has turned down the dollhouse's offer to come and live with it forever, kind of thing.
And in exchange for something happening that she may be wishing for,
right?
And she chose not to.
Right.
And then somebody that from her past has come back, and we thought they were gone, and has come back in an interesting way.
Well, yeah, the house sucked him up. You figure, well, that is dead or whatever.
We figured she was dead.
And then all of a sudden she comes getting spit out. It's going after her child now because it can't get to her, or it's using the child to try and get to her. And then there's some modern horror in this. And when I say modern horror, is in the horrible stuff that happens currently in the world, having to do with racism and that sort of stuff, which was shocking. That caught me completely by surprise.
Yeah, all of that. I mean, it's influenced by the house. Right. I don't know if the house is trying to kill off a mom and keep the kid, or if it's going to be you're going to have to decide now, because if you want your daughter to live,
right,
one of you all is going to have to. We're going to have to. And the
Yeah.
house isn't even there.
Right.
It can manifest itself, though. She found out.
Yeah, it haunts her because all of a sudden, she has a play date over with her daughter, and they're putting toys away, and all of a sudden, one of the dolls is amongst the toys.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good stuff. I like I said, issue 3 just really was like, oh wow, there's a lot going on now that I'm excited about. Besides just being
I liked
the haunted dollhouse.
I liked it from the beginning, and honestly, if it didn't have to be haunted, it would be a fun children's story too. The getting to just go into the dollhouse, whenever you want,
and beating your dad's head in with a hammer, and it's good,
I said
good kid stuff.
Not the horror part.
Was that horror? Next up, we have speaking of comics, as people say, I can read 3 or 4 issues just fine or whatever. Issue 5 of Gotham City Monsters. And I say that because some people haven't read this book.
I did not read it.
Which is fine.
I tried. I love the characters.
Right.
I love the characters. I'm not in this book.
I was in a mood. That's the only reason I got through it.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Because it's really not that good. Unfortunately, like I said, lots of great monster characters that are all fun.
Yeah, I love
Batwoman
my vampire.
in it.
I love Frankenstein.
Right.
They're
They fight kind of fake versions of themselves or lesser versions of themselves, beat them to a bloody pulp, and move on with trying to stop this guy from wrecking all the dimensions or whatever. It's that's it. I'm not talking about that
all
anymore.
right. Yeah, you win. I didn't read it.
Issue number 86 of Batman. Starting now, the Dark Knight's most dangerous story yet. Tony the Fourth takes over. Tony Daniels on art, Minky on inks, and Moray on colors. I always like Moray's colors. I think he elevates just about any book he gets into. He uses distinctly the same color palette for just about anything I've ever read of those. I mean, the first place I saw lots of their inking at was Gilliam March's stuff. He used to color a lot of his things. But anyway, as much as the kind of prologue in the last issue that you read and hated, and I kind of cursorily skimmed over, and as much as the ads for this book show, the basically, I don't know, the top 7, villains gallery of Batman, so the Joker and Harley and Penguin, and which just turns me off immediately, basically. I mean, I get that those are the things he should be going against, but man, I am really tired of the Joker. It needs to be in such a small sense, and I think that's who's in this book at the end of it, is who's kind of manipulating people and killing people towards the end of the thing and whatnot.
Yeah.
I actually really like the issue, the way it's
Same.
told, the style that it's told in and whatnot. I actually enjoyed it. It's much more conventional. It's closer to the standard affair of what Batman is, but I'm not put off. So.
And I like Batman, and they've, the continuity is good in that the things that were set up are still there. Unfortunately, that means, of course, that Alfred is still dead. But
spoilers.
Oh, come on. But then there's also, it starts out with Selena, so it doesn't start out with her.
Of course, you can tell this is a standard Tony Daniels book, because always the second page in is a 2-page spread. If you go back and look at all of New 52, Tony Daniels, second page in is a 2-page spread.
I remember you telling me that.
I talk about it a lot.
Back when we were reading the New 52 together.
Yeah. Even before that, Grant Morrison, when he was doing the art for Grant Morrison on Batman books, second page in is always some sort of a vibe. But I just love the coloring on this. It has a definite mood. It's dark because of the rain and whatnot, but obviously you got this beacon of light that's shining down, gives these interesting oranges and whatnot. Yeah.
And he's trying to go a different way, kind of.
Yeah, I'm gonna hang around.
And by he, I mean Bruce, not.
Right.
So I appreciate that.
I mean, the epilogue's the part that I didn't care for so much, and that's the part
Again.
that's the part where we get into the whole. And even that's interesting, but it's just what it is. I mean, you look at it and you go, oh, it's a bunch of people wearing, clown faces and stuff.
Right, and they're almost
and
because
they're
they've
at
been
a,
stuffing
and they're at
teddy bears with razor wire.
Right, and they're at an amusement park, and it just so it's that kind of. I mean, I guess it could be somebody else, but it's still kind of a.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. That's the part I'm not excited by. So.
Same.
All right. Next up, we have Temporal Knights issue number 5. Now you didn't read this either, right?
No,
I
did not.
Dropped that, which is fine. This is the last issue. It kind of leaves. It could be continued to do something else. This was a rush to kind of answer why things are the way they are.
Well, what about it? Because I think I read like the first 2 or 3.
And so lots of dimensions. He's in all these dimensions. The world just keeps getting rewritten. It gets to a certain point. They break it and start over again. They break it and start over again. He's kind of there to stop it from going off the rails in a certain way. He doesn't know that. The kind of funny gestury woman, the fairy person and whatnot.
Right.
She's there to take him out, to keep him from doing certain things, but she's kind of really starting to like him, so she spends less time doing that and more time saving him. So she's a somewhat sinister character, but not a sinister character. You think that there's a person in this that might be going with them on their adventures. So they kind of turning it almost Doctor Who, and we saved this place, but there's all these other dimensions we need to save now. We're gonna go off to save them. Do you want to go with us? And she's like, no, I'll stay here where it's
Excuse me.
where it's normal and not so crazy and whatnot. But yeah.
Okay, well, we had the point where I had so many comics
Sure.
to read, and so I'm just telling them that you said if you really don't love it, don't
Well,
read
certainly.
it. So I didn't.
Certainly.
But this though,
Next up, we have a Pretty Deadly, The Rat. This is issue number 5, the end of this arc of Pretty Deadly. I think there's like a couple more arcs left.
good.
What do I want to say about this? Love the art. I always like Rios's art. There's less confusing big multi-spread panels. She does a lot of 2-page spreads where you have to figure out where your eye's supposed to go.
Which way you're supposed to read it.
How your eye is supposed to travel across the pages. Sometimes looking way back at them that maybe they look great, but maybe sometimes fall down on the actual storytelling within that. I feel like sometimes. But always kudos to her for trying to do something that's a little different than it just being, a standard affair kind of a thing. And I like the very end of this, the very end of the character that's in this. That's kind of the reason that they've been on this kind of adventure to find this person, Clara, and what happens to her. It's somewhat reminiscent of real life facts that happened in the 30s or 20s, 30s, right as talkies became a thing.
Right.
So I like some of that, and I like the kind of there's some good soul searching type stuff in here. You need to figure out how to forgive certain things just so you can move on with your own existence.
Right.
Not forget. Not that they're not still accountable for the stuff they've done, but still, forgive so you can move on. Kind of stuff. So I like some of that in it. I don't. For me, I don't know that it was always successful all the way through this arc of that story. We wandered and looked at pretty or interesting things, but I don't know. And the rabbit and butterfly stuff in this, I feel like, is weaker than it has been. Their conversations, I'm like, it didn't feel like it set the story or narrated something well or
as it
that
has
sort
been
of
in
thing.
the past. Yes, I agree.
What'd you think?
There. On the whole, I liked it. I like the Reapers. They spent all that time setting them up, and so it's nice to see them doing their jobs. The art is amazing, and I've always liked the what is that called? The silhouette animation type stuff that Clara did, and so during the first parts of the first issues where we saw a lot of that, and the tale is really told a lot in that just because it just so happens there's a lot of shadow.
Right.
So, yeah, no, I liked it. I thought it was an interesting enough story. I agree with you about the rambling. Could have been probably told in fewer issues. But the art is gorgeous. I like the Reapers. I liked the uncle. I liked Clara.
Right. Well, yeah,
And yes, I do like the fact that the realizations that you have to make in your life in order to move on to the next stage.
Just some really good moody kind of stuff as far as that goes.
Yeah.
Next up we have Last God, issue number, what is this, 4? 3.
I was thinking
Chapter
it's
3.
3.
Chapter 3. So kind of what? High fantasy, Eldritch Horror
I don't know
book?
about Eldritch Horror, because isn't Eldritch Horror, like, what's his name?
Lovecraftian.
Sorry, bumping your computer. I'll scoot back. Anyway, yeah, Lovecraft, and it doesn't strike me as Lovecraftian, maybe because it is fantasy, elven, I don't know, but you're probably...
Well, no, I'm just to get this whole plant tentacle thing
I see what you're saying.
that comes
Gotcha.
to get them, and it makes people undead monsters, doesn't it? Shreds you, and then you come back as a reanimated monstery corpses kind of a deal. So I guess that's where I come from with the whole.
Oh, okay.
Let me see. To me,
That's fair.
To me, that's kind of Gnarlathotep looking sort of a critter.
Okay, I see. I was thinking time frame,
No,
not Okay.
The monsters themselves,
Gotcha.
not
Yes. Okay. Then
not
yes.
the,
In
not
that
of
case,
the era.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So the book is told from two perspectives, 30 years apart from each other. One where our original intrepid heroes are the threat has first appeared. They aren't the heroes yet. They're kind of running for their lives to become
They're
the
just
heroes.
kind of thrown together.
And the 30 years into the future is the heroes were supposedly heroes. They didn't really fix the problem. The problem has come back. And you have this conflict between the queen, who was nothing when they originally started out, when they originally fought the last god, and beat it. And she is dealing with a young, very powerful warrior who has come out of the slave pits, fought his way out of the slave pits, who has heard all these stories and believes in all this idealistic
believes
of what they were. That the bard sang about.
It's like somebody believing the Camelot tales without knowing about all of the bloody, actual, real things that happened.
Right. So you got this clash of those two things, and both stories are somewhat interesting. Like I said, it's high fantasy. It's not at the top of my. I don't know. I have a hard time with fantasy anymore. It's probably way too many years of playing D&D all the time, because that's what I spend all my free time doing. So a lot of this stuff doesn't hold for me, because I've seen it, done it. I don't know. But I do like the art. I mean, it's really interesting. I've got this page open. This is the page one. So really, the art, here's this great 2-page spread, and whatnot here. They screwed up on this page, though. This page right here, you can see you see that dotted red line? Well, my camera can pick that up. There's a dotted red line around this page, and it is this page, and it is basically the guidelines, basically telling like the letterer, don't letter outside of that border. Like, that border is a dead space. You don't want to put anything of significance out there. And for whatever reason, that guide got left on.
Yeah, I see it now. I wasn't even paying attention to it.
It's really jarring, because I'm like, oh, there's this visual element, this little stitched dotted red line. And I'm like, wait, that doesn't mean anything. I mean, it's clearly, and I've had some on Twitter, some actual people who work on comic books go, yeah, that's what that is. And clearly it's a printing boo-boo, probably digitally layers, and for whatever reason, I forgot to turn that layer off.
Gotcha.
When they sent it to the printer, would be my guess. But I really actually kind of like this issue, the dichotomy between the old and the past. They're literally, both groups are standing almost in the exact same place, and we're getting a reoccurring of a theme happening, where basically this whatever
the flowering death.
It's an intelligence. It's an intelligence of some sort.
The flowering dead and this god thing that
it brings itself up to kind of go, remember back, it's kind of
it's
makes it a point
of
this happened here in the past, and I've got you now.
Here we are again.
Right. The book is cool. It's got cool back matter. It has songs in the back of it. It has a little story in the back of it. It has a map in the back of it.
I like the back matter. I confess, I did not fully read that particular essay, but I like the song back matter, because it reminds me of reading Jane Yolen's White Jenna series of novels, where you have what's actually happening, and then you have the historians talking about it, and the differences in what they're like. Oh, we think this happened, but we know that can't be right. And of course, that's what was really
right.
This philosopher and historian is an idiot, because they think this, and that's actually what happened. And so that's fun, and so I like that part, because, and it's also done at the back of Monstrous, where they have the cats.
Sure, the philosopher cats.
Telling the story about what had happened in various chunks of their back history.
Right.
And so it's fun to me to kind of look at that and compare it with what a historian was going to say about them 100 years later versus what actually happened.
Right. Yeah. I'm gonna hang on to that book for a while. I mean, like I said, I'm not blown away by it. Right. I'm having more fun. I'm having more fun with like Birthright and whatnot. Is
I love
more
that
is more of
book.
just
As
kind of
far
a,
as
as far as fantasy goes, it's
right,
more of a
turning
kind.
it on its ear.
It's more of a kind of a romp than what this is, and the slow. I don't know what's going on with the Seven Soldiers of Eternity, which is also another kind of fantasy type book. It's the art for that
Right.
kind of thing is what keeps me going on that book. This is kind of an in between of all of those things, I guess. So next up, we have the final issue of Strange Skies over Berlin. So what did you think at the end of this?
I thought it was good. I liked the concept of it really does have to do more with identity. Who are you? Who were you? Who did you think you were going to be? And did that happen?
And how do you project
And
yourself to the rest of the world?
Can you go back and can you try being a truer version of yourself than what you've managed so far?
Mm-hmm.
And that is far more interesting to me than what I thought it was going to be, which is the whole spy versus spy, we're stuck
Sure.
in a bunker thing. So,
but it's perfect in the sense that these two guys, the two people who are at the end of it, the last people, are both the spies. They're both the spy masters, and why are they spy masters? Because we get glimpses into each other's past, and their past kind of put them on these paths, and
right, they had to reinvent themselves.
Right, and there's just some interesting stuff here. This guy who's the Soviet spy and why he's where he's at is interesting. That kind of the monster at the end of this basically forces them for a reckoning with themselves.
Right.
Because by the end of it, they've kind of changed their spots, to some degree.
I'm curious as to, and this is completely different, but how did that woman how did she get out? The German lady, she's at the end of the book.
No.
That's not her?
No, I don't think so. And that was
Okay.
a Russian woman. She's not German. The only German in it,
Okay.
is
All right,
the only
cool
German
then.
in it is our main character.
It looked a lot like her to
No.
me. Okay, good.
No.
Because
It's just-
that doesn't make any sense.
Nope. It's just.
Let me see, if I may, where it looks like he sees her again.
Very end.
So that's not her.
No, she's a much heavier set woman.
Okay, cool.
She's more the traditional heavier set Russian woman.
Yes, alrighty. Well, yeah, there she is at
Yeah.
the beginning of the book.
Yeah. This person here is not
Well,
the
then
person at the end of the
they
book.
should not have made another woman with red hair that looked a lot like that.
Or
then.
brown hair or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Then that was the only part that didn't make sense to me because I was pretty sure she was not coming
No,
back.
the only vision that he has, I think, once he gets out, the one person who gets out and is wandering around, is at the very end. You get this, and the word bubble is strange, and you can see the shadow way back there. It's a person wearing a thin guy wearing a tie, and it's the other
Right.
guy, kind of asking him that final question as we get to the end of it. I really liked the book. I thought it was really good. I enjoyed the exploration of these people and the kind of their past, because we get slices of everybody's past that's in this. And we get some questions: why was this alien thing here? Was it really a monster? Was it not supposed to be a monster? Did it turn into that? All that part of it. And I just really liked the coloring and the paint job on it and stuff. I thought it was a very enjoyable, tight 4 issues. At no point reading this did I go, okay, we're kind of
Yeah, there's no meandering.
we're not dwelling on any one thing long enough for me to go, oh, okay, I read a few pages of that or whatever. Which lots of comics will have that. So
No, I don't have anything else to say. I agree with you.
would you recommend it to people?
Yeah, I think I would.
I know I would. If you're wanting to read something that's not your standard, comic book kind of thing. It's not really. I guess it's horror, but it feels less that now.
Yeah.
To the end of it, it's less.
Yeah.
It's less that.
I thought it was first I thought it was going to be spy versus spy.
Well,
and
yeah.
With a side of alien invasion or something,
Mhm.
and that didn't turn out to be any
Mhm.
of what it was. So
Right. It's horror as much as Old Man of the Sea is a fishing book.
that's fair.
And finally, we get Basket Full of Heads. Hey, I read it right because I have to read it, because if I say it, I'll say it backwards. Issue number 3.
We were talking about whether or not we would call this comedy or horror, and I think that it is both. It is dark comedy or comedic
right.
horror.
It's the kind
It's
of
not
horror you laugh.
slapstick comedy, but it's definitely because it's just so ridiculous. Just the concept of this poor man. I mean,
Well,
yeah, he's a horrible human
no,
being.
I don't feel
So
sorry for
I
him
don't
at
feel
all.
sorry for him, but at the same time, his predicament. I feel
Well,
sorry for
it's
his
basically
predicament.
a cute young girl, which would be one of the victims of your, or the one person that gets away in your typical 1980s horror movie. She's running around with a wicker basket. She has the severed head of a guy who is obviously probably going to do all kinds of ill things to her.
Yeah, he does tell her, actually, I would have killed you.
Yeah, and worse.
Yes. Yeah, he had plans.
But she has lopped his head off with this ancient
Special magic Viking axe.
right, and so he's a severed head now, still talking to her, and they have conversations. And some of the art in here is her basically like she would be laying at a
just show them.
at like a.
I mean, they're not having a slumber party conversation.
But that's
But her posture.
But that's what it looks like.
If you walked up on it, you would know who she was talking to, but you would just think it was like
right,
a young girl, a summer day.
Right. So I mean, other than it's raining, and obviously she's banged up and some whatnot,
Sure.
but it is like this right here, where she's kind of kicking back her feet. They're at the gazebo and they're having a conversation. She's having a conversation with a severed head, and it goes back and forth. He's crying and all apologetic, and then he's fuck you, you slut. I mean, so it's got this whole craziness go on. She gets mad at him, and then he's crying, and she's helping him blow his nose on her
with
shirt.
Exactly.
It goes back and forth. Their whole conversation is that way.
And there's kind of a nasty surprise towards the end, and we don't know what's going to happen in the next one.
Yeah, but like I said, it's fun. He talks about the fact that maybe she just left me to drown. She's like, no, I couldn't do that because you wouldn't have drowned. He's like, yes, I would. Oh, no, he wouldn't because he doesn't have lungs. So clearly he couldn't drown. He would have just been floating around with the crabs. That's this picture of what it might have been like. And I don't know. It's a fun comic. It's another Joe Hill comic. It's one of the actual Joe Hills.
Oh, by the way, I don't know about you, but I have not been trying to keep up with the whole Sea Dogs thing.
Nope.
Because we don't get all the books, I
Well,
don't think, or if we
yeah,
did,
we
we
do.
didn't. Okay, well,
I'm getting all the Joe Hill books, but it's like 2 pages, and I don't know.
Yeah, I just haven't bothered.
Yeah, there's a backup story, the Sea Dog, in all the Joe Hill books, and I'm getting all the Joe Hill books.
And it's like the first one is, and then it tells you this is continued in this issue, and
right.
Anyway, I think I read the very first one, then I thought I wasn't sure if we were gonna get all of them.
Mm-hmm. But there's lots of classic elements.
Oh, look at that!
There's lots of classic elements in this book of mid 80s horror type comics. There's just all kinds of. There's jump scares. There's cliffhangers at the end of every issue. She's got some of the stereotypical young, handsome kids that gotten themselves where they don't belong, and they escape prisoners, being, disgusting whatevers, and
yep,
you're just not sure who the bad guys are and who the good guys are.
Him, where the head is telling her about.
How he has all the money. Because he never looks like this, but he has all the money, so he's laying around, shirt open, cool sunglasses, and his gun, and being all cool.
He's like, sorry.
Yeah.
He never took off his sunglasses or buttoned up his shirt for the entire rest of the summer. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
But fun. It's fun.
It definitely. It's like I was saying that we have horror in one hand and we have romp in the other, and this is both.
Yep.
It's a horror romp.
Yep. At any rate,
Hey, were we under an hour?
No, we're over an hour.
Oh, well, sorry, guys.
At any rate, thank you for anybody who watched or listened or whatever, and got a little bit of comics to read.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Okay, bye.
Bye.